flying back into the storeroom, crashing into the sacks that lined the wall. Her head smacked hard against a stone. The sacks were kept atop a low wooden bench to keep them from the damp of the floor and the sand that covered it in a fine layer. But they toppled readily as Alexandra hit them, following her to the ground. She lay there, like a discarded doll, dizzy and panting, surrounded by lentils and seeds and grain, and the first spill of blood. The door rested atop her. A dull, distant ache radiated from the wrist she'd fallen on. She turned her head painfully to the side. Her vision spun. Beneath the bulk of the door, she could see nothing but a patch of hazy, seed-scattered floor. For a moment, everything was still. Then a shadow rippled across the ground, followed by the dancing glimmer of a reflection. A glint of metal, like the shine of firelight off a blade. Alexandra turned her head away. What use was watching? It would only make her more afraid. She squeezed her eyes shut and waited, her pulse thrumming frantically in her ears, her throat, her belly, and the tips of her bloodied fingers. When the door was lifted from her, it was with something like gentleness. A gasp rushed past her lips as the pressure on her chest released, and she felt something warm dribbling from the corner of her mouth. Blood. The taste was overwhelming as it began to carve a path across her cheek to drip from her jaw. The dull pain of her wrist flared and hardened. Broken. She was almost sure of it. There was a sharp, ringing thud, something solid making contact with the floor, so close to her face that she felt the disturbance in the soft, short curls that framed her face. Alexandra whimpered. Shh. A rustling of fabric as the monster knelt. A careful hand caressed Alexandra's face, wiping the blood away. Then the soothing shushing gave way to a foul, wet sucking. Alexandra squeezed her eyes shut tighter. Her lips shaped the words of a prayer to Persephone. Lady of flowers, goddess of a spring Alexandra would not live to see through. The hand returned to her jaw, and Alexandra leaned wearily into the cool press of fingers. Another hand cupped her opposite cheek, so that her face was cradled, tenderly, between two palms. Please, croaked Alexandra. She was not sure what she was asking for, but the grip of fingers on her flesh tightened in response. They held her head in a sudden vice, then jerked it sideways. Alexandra thought she felt it when her neck broke.
1. Irene. Irene regarded the basket of plums with the same distaste she would have shown the rotting corpse of a rabbit. The individual fruits were perfect, plump, richly pigmented, unmarked, and identical. They could not have been on the doorstep for long. The morning dew was only just beginning to collect on their shining skins, and Irene couldn't help but watch a droplet mark a slow, inviting trail downwards. Despite herself, she inhaled, and the air was thick with their fragrance. Gods, again! Phoebe materialized at her shoulder without warning, a slender, serious wraith in her ivory chiton. Irene started, snatching her hands back from the basket of plums. She had barely registered herself reaching for them. I wasn't, she began guiltily. Phoebe hardly seemed to hear her. Her brow was furrowed, and her teeth worried at her lower lip as she leaned past Irene for a closer look. The third basket in as many days, she observed flatly. And they're from him, aren't they? Irene nodded reluctantly, unable to meet her twin sister's eyes. Who but Leandros could find plums at this time of year? And it was not just plums. Yesterday it had been figs, and the day before that pears and a cluster of golden grapes, all perfectly ripe, all impossible to find in